Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here this morning, present at such a meeting as this. I want to open with some statements that I know would be said before and will be said after. And we want to say that God is the greatest minister of agriculture of the past, present, future, the beginning and the end. Because when God created the Garden of Eden, He knew that the plants would need water. So there He caused the rivers to flow through all the land in the Middle East, therefore allowing the farmers, our forefathers, who were the best farmers that ever passed through this life, that they would be able to water the land and the cattle. So my aim here this morning is to highlight the importance of innovation in agriculture by sharing of information and experiences. My brain is not as good as I used to be. It used to be 20 years ago, so I put my thoughts and my heart in this paper. I wish to express this topic from the agro-processing viewpoint, as this is the area in which I work and have been working for the past 30 years. I'm a food development officer with the ADMC, and in my capacity to develop new ideas for agro-processing and to implement them and where they can be shared with the wider public. Now, who should process? Anyone having an interest in processing of food should do so. Anyone. With the appropriate knowledge, time and expertise, this can prove to be a very profitable career. I recommend firstly those who are in some way affiliated with agriculture in the Caribbean. This is normally the subsistence farmer. Those farmers, we have to always give them a tap on the back, because don't care who we are, Minister of Agriculture, Education, Culture, we have to eat. In the region, we usually see processing being carried out by females in rural districts. But this is not to say that males are not included in the processing as well. I support the training of women and all persons alike in the processing industry. Processing can also be done on a more commercial level via the establishment of larger business that tend to cater to the wider market. You have to like this job to do it. And if you like it, you will not work a day hard in your life, in your processing life. And this is from my personal experience. Anything you do, you have to like it. If you don't like it, it becomes a hard job. Why should we process? Processing in earlier times was done as a means of preserving and storing goods throughout the year, as most crops are seasonal. This avoids wastage in times of abundance and glut, and can be a short term or for the long term. Processing allows for the creation and development of products that are easily used by the end consumer. That is, we who eat and drink from these products. For example, the production of cassava flour from the root crop. What should we process? Or what should we process? Simply everything. But there are the basic considerations to be made. We have to look at finance. It is financially beneficial to process foods that are easily available. Easily grown, such as cucumbers, tomatoes, herbs, and the foods I just called before, the staples. Now there are some foods that can be processed for short time, and we're speaking like coconut water. Because for years people have been trained to use coconut water as a processed product. We have not failed outright. A fail is not a final, but after 4 days, and you don't put chemicals in it, you notice that there's a change in the final product. We still have to do research on it. We're not giving up. Demand and supply. Looking at the ratio of supply and demand, one should also process foods to supply the market that needs them. Who are the market that need them? Everyone. Marketability. In Barbados and the wider Caribbean, a large amount of locally processed food is supplied to the tourism sector. Now we know that the Caribbean is a tourism destination, When tourists come here or come to the Caribbean, they look to eat local foods because they would have left, as Alison spoke about earlier, the mushrooms and the bacon. Now, we have that here, praise the Lord. Health and education. Foods also should be processed for health benefit and to educate the wider public on what can be done with the local crops. Education, again, I say, is the key. And when we educate and we share knowledge, we find that we get greater advantage. When we withhold knowledge, we let people asking why, when, how, where, and what can be done. Now, all that I spoke about, we still have some challenges that face the processing. Gluts and sacrifices. Gluts and scarcities. This creates a hostile environment for farmers who spend long time during the growth stages, and sometimes as a result of a glut on the market, there's no profit to be made. This can be helped by the registration of farmers and the collection of data on crops commonly produced by each, so that there's reduction in overlap and the production of some crops at the same time. Now, this would be a topic for the extension office, but I have to touch on it because, as I said, if we don't have sectorial collaboration with all the other ministries and all the stakeholders, then one is as good without the other as nothing. If we don't have collaboration, then we have to hop around on one leg. And you know that we can only do that for some time. We look at packaging, like some of the foods I have there, I do a small processing, and everything are expensive. But because of my love for it, I try to forget the negatives and focus strictly on the positives. So the cost of packaging, the consumer likes to see nicely packaged goods without bearing the brunt of the price tag. This can be difficult for some agro-processors, especially those who exist on small scale and cannot meet packaging overhead. This can be helped by the creation of agro-processing groups that can purchase materials in larger quantities at a cheaper cost and then subdivide among themselves, for example, bottles, labels, bags, etc. I hope we have some process here this morning that would support what I'm saying. Subsidizing. With the recent downturn in the economy, there will hardly be offering of much subsidizing by the government. I would recommend that even though it may prove difficult, the government agencies and lending agencies affiliated with agriculture should make an investment now more than before, as this can help to lessen our food import bill and save on the much needed foreign exchange for other users. Along with the subsidiaries, there will also be along with subsidiaries, this will also be as low as persons are not interested in spending, but rather in saving. Farmers can look forward towards small business development loans and grants offered by local and regional agencies. Space for production. Agro-processing requires space for the storing of materials, adequate area for working on materials, and after processing, space for the storage of the final products. Small processors can find themselves without enough room, especially in areas where the operation is done from a household. How can we combat this? Technologically advanced equipment. Lack of equipment can increase production time and make the overall process less efficient or even less profitable. Processors should keep us to date with technology that can help by searching the internet and also making links with local providers who can keep abreast with information. An educated workforce. Persons view processing as a menial job and are hence not devoted to making a living from it. Successful processors need to share ideas and knowledge and create a data bank of information for those who are new to the field or express some interest. Supply and demand. Processors should be certain that they have a demand for their product and a supply of raw material to meet this demand in order to achieve their required output and sustain themselves, their business, and their families is an income. Now, in summary, the things I would wish to see implemented over time are, and I hope that people here, some person here will take my message back to the persons to be, the establishment of more greenhouses, a seed bank for farmers in the Caribbean, building on the human resource in agriculture by training and sharing of information, establishing trees and plants that will adapt to the changing weather patterns. This can go hand in hand with research that can be done at a secondary and tertiary level. For example, the use of shorter trees that will withstand strong winds. Example, we talk like jamun. Jamun is a good fruit, and we will go into that maybe at some other time. Another environmental point is the planting of foods whose root help to reduce land slippage. For example, deep root crops such as the coconut. We need to boost the poultry industry so we can hatch our own eggs that are currently imported. This will be for special. This will be for special for our hatching. You know, we have to import. I don't know for Trinidad, but you know we have to import our hatching eggs from in Barbados. You know that, Dr. Paul? Yeah. And we also need to improve on our husbandry, which is pig and beef, the beef farmers. Because even though we're self-sufficient in pork, we still have to import the meat for processing. So we need to improve cattle farming by replenishing the grass fields, because if there's no food, then we cannot encourage farmers to keep livestock. Cut down on the imports in meat such as pork and beef by creating the niche farms. We talk about branding, like the Barbados black belly sheep and the Bajan cherry. We need to keep true to our heritage and culture by preserving signature dishes such as Boko and flame fish from Barbados, crab and callaloo from Trinidad, and the rest goes on. And this should be our traditional way of cooking. Now, in this day, if we ask a child, from the time a child is about a year old or 2 years, children would always say mama and dada. Now they're saying Shepek and Kentucky. Those are the words they're seeing and hearing. If you ask a child, I don't mean, no pun intended, if you ask a child that is 5 to 16 what is the national dish, they will tell you fried chicken and chips. Do we want this trend to continue? How much time do I have? I just want to do a short case study on Seven Hearts Multipurpose Food Service from the point of view and the topics I related to in small business. My business started because of hunger and because I was living in poverty right here in Trinidad. But because I had a God-given gift, and I recognized that from the age of 4, I was able to process almost anything that was edible to feed my 7 children. In the interim, I returned back to Barbados, and this proved to be a successful and viable enterprise for me. Because of that, I don't want to go into all the details because there's a lot of water on the bridge. But from this small business, I was able to educate 7 of all my children, with 5 today holding master's degree, bachelor's degree, and also we call it the people that do artisans, and myself. Hence I named my business 7 Hearts, and I have a little ring with 7 little diamonds representing children, and a big heart, and that is me. So thank you, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.